like to call this meeting to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Wolf.
Here.
Councilmember Capes.
Here.
Mayor Montgomery.
Here.
Councilmember Strawn.
Here.
Councilmember Rayburn.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please bow your heads for a moment of silence. Thank you. Council, do we have any items that need to be added or deleted from the agenda, or any changes?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I request to add budget amendment number 7 to the consent agenda, which I think would be item number H, and then to remove the closed session, which is item number 12.
Okay. Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. And moving on to the consent agenda, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Thank you. Katie, do I have anyone signed up for public comment?
Yes, Charles Hensley.
Mr. Hensley, if you'll come to the podium and state your name and your address, please.
Good evening. My name is Charles Hensley. My address is 109 Winroad Drive, Winnington Hall, Jamestown. I'm coming before the committee to offer up 2 documents. They're property summaries regarding the property owner of D.H. Horton Incorporated for what is known as the Johnson Farm. I've been in some conversations with council members as well as citizens, and there seems to be a discrepancy about how this property is classified. From my understanding, from a council member, it's classified as agriculture, but these documents reflect that the larger portion of that property is considered residential. So I'd like to introduce these to the
If you'll
council.
hand them to the clerk, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just have the council review it and get back with me in terms of the clarification as to which way the property is classified currently, because I think it impacts on the rezoning effort that's being considered this evening or in the future.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Has anyone else signed up?
Yes, Brant Gomez.
Good evening. My name is Brant Gomez, 211 Misty Waters Lane, here in Jamestown, Riverwalk West. Also a board member there in the HOA. I'd like to bring up a sidewalk extension possibility. Right now, we have all the sidewalks that come up Dillon to the southeast corner of Main Street, but then right there it stops. You have to cross over Main Street, walk up to Oakdale to cross back over again. So I was wondering if maybe potential sidewalks that take up from the southeast corner of Dillon and Main Street to the Black Dog Cafe, and then it picks up the sidewalk right there by the Oyster Bar too. But right now, we have to cross it 4 times just to get back home.
Okay, so you're referring to the road across the street from Food Line?
That is correct,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Across the railroad tracks, you have the light there, you cross over, and then the sidewalk's only on the north side. And then you have to walk up it, cross back over Oakdale at the light, and then we have to cross it back. So you're essentially crossing 4 times just to go up, try to get up one side.
Okay.
So thank you for your time.
input.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
evening.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you.
No, nobody else signed up.
Okay. Eddie Oakley, if you will come forward, I will give you your resolution from the council. and the appreciative citizens. Whereas Eddie Oakley has given his time and talents serving on the Town of Jamestown's Planning Board as an alternate and a full-time member from 2008 in January. And whereas he has contributed to constructive change throughout the Town of Jamestown through his involvement on the Planning Board. And whereas Eddie has supported well-planned quality growth that has protected our small town community character and preserved the town's historic and cultural resources. And whereas he has never hesitated to express his opinion or vocalize what he believed was in the best interest of Jamestown, I think that's right. And whereas he volunteered to serve as a comprehensive plan steering committee member. And whereas the updated comprehensive plan will be used by the planning board to help guide difficult decisions into the next decade. And whereas his service in both his public and private life has been given willingly and cheerfully, and he has contributed measurably to the success of community endeavors and to the betterment of the quality of life for many of his fellow citizens. Now therefore, I, Lynn Montgomery, Mayor of the Town of Jamestown, and the Town Council do hereby express our deep appreciation to Eddie Oakley for his distinguished years of service and do extend our best wishes for the next chapter of your life. Thank you, Eddie. We appreciate you.
Congratulations.
Well, let me get one too. I'll select it. But I always get that, no, that lie always gets it wrong. That's what I don't like.
You don't like that?
That lie.
Oh.
Thank you, Eddie. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Let me say, it's been an honor to have served the residents and the people in the town office from top to bottom, has always been cooperative and do a tremendous amount of work behind the scenes that we never see as a planning board member to prepare us to do what's right for our town. And I'm greatly appreciated for them also.
Thank you.
One more thing. We have 3 great people on council that came from the planning board. I don't plan on making it to 4.
Thank you. Debbie Beach, would you come forward? Have a proclamation for Constitution Week.
Thank you, Mayor Montgomery.
Whereas the Constitution of the United States of America, the guardian of our liberties, embodies the principles of limited government in a republic dedicated to rule by law, and whereas September 17th, 2021 marks the 234th anniversary of the framing of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas North Carolina has 3 signers of our Constitution, Mr. Richard Dobbs Sprait, our first native-born governor, Mr. William Blount, also a North Carolina governor and a senator, and Mr. Hugh Williamson, a North Carolina representative in the first United States Congress. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate it. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through September 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore, I, Lynn Montgomery, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as Mayor of the Town of Jamestown, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through September 23rd as Constitution Week, and ask our citizens to affirm the ideals the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties. Thank you, Debbie, for accepting this.
I'll let let you get pictures and I'll get one. Deborah, I also want to thank you for the 9/11 banner that you let us fly at the town hall, and also down at the library, the Lions Club for putting the flag up. That was wonderful. Let me get your picture.
Ma'am.
This is her name. Lynn, what's up that way? Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you, Mayor Montgomery.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Okay, and I know you guys are tired of me reading, but I have one more. Elizabeth Greason, would you come and accept the proclamation for litter sweep on behalf of the town?
What was that?
Whereas the North Carolina Department of Transportation organizes an annual fall statewide roadside cleanup to ensure clean and beautiful roads across our state, and whereas the fall 2021 litter sweep roadside cleanup will take place September the 11th through September the 25th, 2021, and encourages local governments and communities, civic and professional groups, businesses, churches, schools, families, and individual citizens to participate sponsoring and organizing local roadside cleanups. And whereas Adopt a Highway volunteers, Department of Transportation employees, Department of Public Safety, Division of Adult Correction inmates, community service workers, local government agencies, community leaders, civic and community organizations, businesses, churches, and schools, and environmentally concerned citizens conduct annual local cleanups during fall litter sweep and may receive certificates of appreciation for their participation. And whereas the great natural beauty of our state and clean environment are sources of great pride for all North Carolinians, attracting tourists and aiding in recruiting new industries. And whereas the cleanup will increase awareness of the need for cleaner roadsides, emphasize the importance of not littering, and encourage recycling of solid waste. And whereas the fall 2021 litter sweep cleanup will be the 37th biannual celebration of the North Carolina Adopt a Highway program and its 4,400 volunteer groups that donate their labor and time year-round to keep our roadsides clean. And whereas the fall litter sweep cleanup will be part of educating children of this great state regarding the importance of clean environment to the quality of life in North Carolina. Now I therefore, Lynn Montgomery, as the mayor of the town of Jamestown, do hereby proclaim September 18th, 2021 as Fall Litter Sweep Day in the town of Jamestown and encourage citizens to take an active role in making Jamestown a cleaner community. And Elizabeth, thank you for your service in organizing this.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Elizabeth, thank you so much for continuing that. And I thought it was a great event, and we got a lot of trash. It was hot. And I would say that Catherine was the youngest litter sweeper there that day. And but we really did enjoy it. I appreciate you doing it.
How many bags did we end up with on Saturday?
Elizabeth has some information to share with us.
Yes, I just want to say thank you as well. It's an honor to be a part of this each season. 2 times a year, of course, at any time that anyone wants to do a project on their own at the town, we can assist families or organization or groups with supplies and equipment to do it on their own. But we did have 31 people as volunteers on Saturday, September the 18th, and we were able to pick up 37 bags total. We did have, as you mentioned, some younger people that, had not participated with us before, so it gave us the opportunity to talk about swat the litter bug and some of the other literature that they've given us through the North Carolina Department of Transportation to help us with the education on these events. And also, it was such a blessing to have them come as a family and be there to talk about it. I know at your particular site where you helped, it was a confined area that was not out on the roadways. When you have younger people wanting to participate, there are some guidelines that the state requires us to follow, but we would never want to say to anyone, you're too young to help pick up litter in Jamestown. So we did find some sites there in front of the library, and there was at our park at Wren Miller, and there was some other areas that had a confined area that did not have roadways going through them. So that worked out very well when I spoke to the families, and they were able to realize that they could participate and not be turned away. So, but yes, we do plan to continue this each season as we are able to, and I just want to thank the town manager and the staff for allowing us to continue doing that, because I do think it makes a real impression to see the town of Jamestown in action to keep Jamestown beautiful.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I hope I'm here for the next one.
That's right.
A lot of odd junk out there.
Yeah.
And for the person that threw out the over 50 lottery tickets, I hope they never win another dollar.
Thank you, Lizzie.
Thank you.
Dave, would you update us on the mission, vision, and values statement that we discussed?
Not that I need these. And you'll notice tonight, Mayor, I do have mine on and not yours.
They're not quite as fancy.
Hers are more decorative. One of the things that was one of the goals for the mayor and council was to take a look and update our mission, vision, and values. In July, we adopted a strategic plan. And in that strategic plan, we had outcomes, we had goals, and we had strategies. And as you know, we have turned the outcomes and goals into game plans. And we have formed some teams, and we have worked the procedures and the things that we needed to do to get things done. And so that is underway. We have about 40 different goals that we have adopted over the next 3 to 5 years. Some of them are short-term, some intermediate, some a little longer term, and we have assigned these goals to various staff members or boards or others most appropriate. And I would say that one of the assignments that was adopted by the mayor and the council was to sort of review our vision, mission, and values. It's not that we didn't have any, we just hadn't looked at them in a long time, and perhaps they weren't as complete as what they needed to be. And if we're uncomfortable, we did come up with 2 different vision statements, and a lot of them said just about the same thing, but I wanted to read them, and I realized we had 2 different teams of mayor and council who were coming up with them. And of course, this could be a 3-2 vote based on who was on what team. But I wanted to read these, and there's one that struck me a little bit, but I wanted to read them and have us talk about them. Either one of these is excellent. One of them is, we envision Jamestown to be a place for people to feel welcome, a destination for a variety of lifestyles, a friendly town with abundant recreational opportunities, a town that embraces its history and sense of community. And that was one, a little bit maybe shorter than number 2. Number 2 probably has more information in it. And the vision number 2, Jamestown will be a thriving community with strong roots in our history, one dedicated to a high quality of life for residents of all ages, including recreation, education, and supporting businesses, a community of clean, beautiful, and safe surrounding and welcoming neighborhoods where everyone can feel at home. And those were the two that we had. And if I were asked about it, I think the second vision statement perhaps is more inclusive. It mentions more things in terms of business and education. And the other one is a little more streamlined and certainly alludes to the same things. And it just is a matter of preference as to what we feel might be the better one for us. There are no bad choices here. There are two good choices, and perhaps you've had that in your packet, and if we feel uncomfortable in working with that tonight, we can certainly come back on it. But I just wanted to hear from the board what your thinking was on either one of these.
Well, I think they're both similar, really, and I do think they're both good. I think, you know, our original vision statement was really long, and so the consultant has said it's often good to have your vision statement to be short. So I think that's what my team tried to do. But I think the visions are both the same, and I would be happy with whatever the council desires on that.
Make a motion to accept.
Let me make sure. John, do you have any comments you would like to add at this time?
No, I totally agree with what Martha said. I think both are very good. I tend to lean more towards what number 2 sounds like, just on the inclusivity, but I like both. And I think I heard Lawrence make a motion, and I'm happy to second it.
What was your motion, sir?
I was gonna make a motion to accept number 2, but I'm sorry, we were in discussion, so.
If no one has anything else to add, I just wanted to make sure that we had
Okay.
included John in that.
I agree, they're both good. I like safety was included in 2. I would be happy to put it out to the audience. That seems a little odd to be voting on the things that we wrote, but I can second Lawrence.
I made the motion. Doesn't he make it again? Make a motion to accept the vision statement number 2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
The second one was the draft mission statement, and the thinking of the board, and I remembered when we started, we had a paragraph or so, and then as y'all begin to whittle down, we came up with creating an exceptional quality of life for all citizens by providing superior services. And that's what we came up with. And I wondered if there might be a motion to accept that vision statement, mission statement.
Same motion to accept.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
The third part of this talked about values, and I know we used sort of the dot method where we went around and put dots by some of the ones that we listed, and we tried to do them in rank order. And so we ended up with 2 sets of values. One we call primary values. The one was compassion and fairness, and that's basically show compassion to every one of our citizens, our staff, our visitors. When we make decisions as a town, we are thoughtful and understanding of how those decisions will affect our citizens. We ensure that everyone gets equal consideration. And we talked about accountability, that we would be accountable to the citizens. We take ownership of our actions and decisions made by the town. We talked about servant leadership. We believe that we have leaders who have been placed here to serve and putting the needs of the citizens first. And then there was a feeling that we needed, even if we disagreed, that we had the ability to work together. We come from diverse backgrounds, experiences. will not preclude us from finding a way to hear all voices, incorporating them in our work. And these were the primary ones, which I thought were good, very good. And then we had some secondary values that talked about listening, open-mindedness, making a positive impact, and respect. And so I thought what we came up with and what we spent a good bit of time on coming up with the primary and the secondary, I thought y'all did a great job, and I think that we should adopt them as presented as primary and secondary core values.
Motion to adopt.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And again, I think Mayor Pro Tem Wolf, you know, we had some things in the past, and I think we have confirmed and reconfirmed using a lot less words, and I think it's more effective. And I know when we adopted our strategic plan, I shared with the mayor and council that basically our strategic plan was sort of hanging in limbo, and we needed to connect it, if you would, to our mission and vision and primary and secondary values. That the strategic plan really only makes sense if we tie it to those three. And I would say that the goal that was assigned to the mayor and the board, we will be able to check that off as having been completed. And it actually, you know, took us a while to go through this, because I think what we are saying is we are creating, if you will, the identity for our community, who we are and who we want to be, and all the things that we undertake to make sure that they come in line with our mission, vision, and primary and secondary values. So I thank you for your work, and thank you for your approval, and we will make sure that this is a part of our work, you know, that we share with the public, that we have on our you know, that we use this so people can see what we stand for. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Katie, would you discuss the appointment of planning board members and alternates?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. There is currently a vacancy on the planning board. Jane Walker Payne, Carrie Miller, Pam Burgess, Jeff Craig, and Al Stewart have applied for consideration for appointment to the board. Jane Walker Payne and Carrie Miller are planning board alternates and are both willing to serve as full-time members on the board. Staff recommends that council appoint someone to serve as a planning board member and a planning board alternate if necessary.
I'm happy we've got several applications to pick from. That's always good. Of course, we know Jane Payne, who is here tonight, and she did work on the Comprehensive Plan Committee, and she's our town representative on Guilford County Historic Commission. And of course, Jane has been coming to the meetings and has sat in when required, and then has come just in the audience when not required, so she's been up to date on it. Of course, Carrie Miller, also a current alternate. You know, Carrie served 2 terms on the planning board, and then once you serve 2 terms, you have to rotate off, but you can be an alternate for the 5-year hiatus there, and he's through that 5 years, so he has said he would like to serve again, and of course, he's a wealth of knowledge and experience. Pam Burgess, her application, I will say she served on the Land Comp Steering Committee as well, and I think she's currently serving on the AARP Livable Communities. Yeah. Jeff Craig has put in an application. Al Stewart put in an application, but I understand he signed to run it for council, but I understand he has decided he does not want to run for council or withdraw, but he was not able to do so or did not do so in time to have his name taken off the ballot. So I think we need to keep his application on file, but I don't think we should consider him until that scenario plays out on his council status. And I would just suggest keeping that on until we see how that election comes out. So we like I say, we've got some great people. I would be inclined to recommend Jane Payne to be as the active member and Pam Burgess to be as an alternate.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Dave, would you now give us the information on the consideration of approval of the accounting checklist and
Yeah.
budget amendment number 6?
I know earlier in the year, as we were working on the budget, and part of it may be that I got here in January, and the budget was underway when I got here, and there were a couple things that we actually talked about, and I did say if you would, give us a little bit more time, that I would be able to better evaluate the need for some of the positions that were under consideration. And one of those positions is an accounting specialist. And when I begin to evaluate the work, we have a finance director, a very able one, who's a certified public accountant. And I actually have needed a lot of her assistance to help me, but she does a lot of the day-to-day duties and really does not have time to assist on some things and some that we need to look into. And so I am recommending that we hire an accounting specialist. We have prepared under our classification and compensation plan, we have assigned this to a salary grade 12, and I would recommend to the council that we approve budget amendment number 6 and the new position, accounting specialist. This would have a budgetary impact of $51,075 increase in revenues and expenditures. And I recommend that we approve the budget amendment number 6 in the new position of accounting specialist.
And so, as you said, this person would assist the finance director.
Yes.
She maybe also assist Sharon in some of her duties?
Yeah, well, it would be in Judy's area of responsibility, but we were talking about reporting to the finance director, and they would be working, maintaining the general ledger, monitoring accounts payable, assisting with preparation and monitoring of the annual town budget, capital improvement program, someone who can work independently and has accounting skills to provide some assistance to our finance director so that I can better utilize her time.
And you want this effective immediately?
Yes, we will go out and advertise, and we have placed the amount of money that I mentioned in the motion, and we think that we need to try to fill this as quickly as we can. Certainly, we'll advertise and review applications and hire as quickly as we can. And, as I have looked at it, I feel like this is in order and would help us. The other thing that we've done is we also are taking in a lot of the federal dollars that are coming in. There's extra reporting requirements. And I think this has been needed for some time. And as I've looked at it, I would agree with the earlier assessment that we should add this position.
Any discussion? Further, council?
Well, I would make a motion to approve the accounting specialist position and budget amendment number 6.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Matthew, would you update us on the public hearing date for the adoption of the town's updated comp plan?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. With regards to the comprehensive plan, the Planning Board did hear that last night, and they are going to recommend favorably to the council. But we would like to go ahead and set a public hearing date for the consideration of the comprehensive plan update for the October 19th, 2021 regular council meeting.
Do you have a motion, council?
Yeah, I would make a motion to approve the public hearing for the consideration of the town's updated comprehensive plan for the October 19th regular council meeting at 6 o'clock here in the Civic Center.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
One second.
Okay.
We may not be in the Civic Center due to voting. Location may be to determine, most likely here at Town Hall somewhere.
Okay.
Just to be
Okay.
clear about that.
Do you need me to restate the motion?
I don't, but
No,
Okay.
and I think that early voting will actually start after that date.
okay,
in
so
the
we may
civic
be in this room, okay.
center. So we should be fine.
Well, they
Just wanna-
said, I think October 24th is when it's supposed to start here, but I know they come early to set up, so.
Very good. I just wanted to be clear,
Okay.
but thank you.
So we have a motion and a second, correct, Katie?
I think we're good to go. I think everyone voted as well, too.
And did we all voted
All
in
in
favor?
favor.
Okay.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Matthew. And moving on to our public hearing date for the adoption of amendments to the land development ordinance.
Yes, ma'am. At the planning board meeting last night, we did discuss the amendments to the LDO. We opened the public hearing, but actually continued it until the November 8th regular meeting of the planning board. So I have one change here. I would ask that we set a public hearing date to consider the amendments to the LDO for the November 16th regular council meeting. And that should be in this room.
Yeah. Well, I would make a motion to approve setting that public hearing date for consideration of the amendments to the LDO for the November 16th regular town council meeting at 6 here in the Civic Center.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Thank you. Okay, and Matthew, moving on to the adoption of the resolution directing the clerk to investigate an annexation petition.
Thank you, Mayor. Under General Statute 168-31, the town did receive a petition for annexation of the property that's commonly known as the Johnson Farm. As a first step, the town council, this is statutorily prescribed, should direct the clerk to investigate that petition by adopting a resolution instructing her to do such. There is a copy of that resolution in your packet, as well as a request for annexation.
Well, I was going to say, you know, the town entered into an annexation agreement with Greensboro, I believe it was March of 1991. So, and then there was an amendment in 2011 when we did some adjustment of the annexation lines. So, that's what, 29 years that it's been planned that if that property were ever to be annexed, it would be Jamestown's jurisdiction. So I certainly would be in favor of approving adoption of the resolution directing the clerk and the town attorney to investigate the annexation petition.
Second.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. And now, Matthew, we have consideration of a waiver of the waiting period for the rezoning request.
Thank you. Under Section 5.3-6 of the town's land development ordinances, there is a provision which generally states that once the council takes some action, in other words, it votes, on a rezoning request, then the town would not consider another rezoning request for that same property within 12 months. The intent of that language is to prevent subsequent requests from applicants without some sort of significant change to the request. The LDO language recognizes that there could be exceptions whereby an applicant might make some substantial change that could warrant some other consideration by the town council. The process is listed for that in the land development ordinance and consists of a request of a waiver by the applicant. That request does nothing more than permit the applicant to resubmit a request for the consideration. The processes are still exactly the same. Applicant would submit the request. That would be heard by the planning board first and ultimately make its way to the town council for their consideration. As everyone is well aware, the property that we're talking about here was subject of a previous rezoning request, which was heard by the town council in January of 2021 this year, and ultimately it was voted on at the February meeting of 2021. That request, brought by Diamondback Investment, was ultimately denied by the town council, and that started the shot clock, if you will. D.R. Horton purchased the collective property known as the Johnson Farm on July 1st, 2021. The new owner has submitted a request for annexation, which we just heard, and we believe that the request for rezoning will likely come to the town following our effort to engage with the public using Seth Harry and Associates, which those meetings concluded on Saturday, September 18th. The new owners have submitted a request for a waiver from the language of the LDO, which would allow them to just submit their rezoning request. And in that request, they've enumerated the reasons that they feel they should receive the ability to submit their request. Number one, they are brand new owners of the property and were not a party to the previous rezoning. Number two, the rezoning that they plan to submit will be substantially different than the previous request. And number three, the public engagement process, which we concluded on Saturday with Seth Harry and Associates, will likely, and it did, yield new information from the public, which D.R. Horton will incorporate into their submittal package. The staff have reviewed the request and consulted with our land use attorney, Tom Terrell, concerning the matter, and all agree that it is prudent to permit the new owner the opportunity to simply request their rezoning to be heard by the planning board and town council, and thus staff does recommend in favor of granting the request. Do you have any questions?
Questions for Matthew?
Well, I do believe the waiver is reasonable. It's a request due to what you have just said, but in his letter, the owner's letter, it is a new owner. And, you know, they state that they will be, contain substantial changes in redesign, it says, of street systems, substantial change in types of housing, substantial changes to density, substantial changes in open space, and the owner will work closely with Seth Harry, community planner, which is, like you said, hired by the town to be an advocate for the town. So I think that is reasonable to grant that waiver. The only thing I did want to clarify that whenever rezoning application is submitted, when we don't know when that will be, but whenever that is, that it will go through, as you said, the required legal process of the public hearing on the planning board level, public hearing on the council level, and the final application must adhere to the adopted comp plan and the land development ordinance at the time of the final approval.
That's correct.
Okay.
John, do you have anything you'd like to add or ask Matthew?
No, I think I'm good at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren?
I know that Tom has guided us through this process and done a real well job with it. Just wondered if Beth had anything she wanted to add that we need to take into consideration.
No, I believe that as long as they have put forth what the differences are going to be in the letter, in their letter, which I've reviewed, it does look like their differences are going to be significant, then I think a waiver would be appropriate.
Thank you. That's all I have.
I agree, and actually, I'm kind of, pleased it happened this way after seeing the letter, because I feel like it really did encourage them to enumerate exactly why there are these differences, and I was very happy to see, just as Martha and Beth have said, the changes in housing, type, density, variety of things. So I feel comfortable granting that or voting for that waiver.
Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the waiver under section 5.3-6 of the LDO to permit the applicant owner, D.R. Horton, the right to submit a new rezoning application for the property commonly known as Johnson Farm.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Dave, do you have a manager's report for us?
Wanted to share a few things. I think my report is in there, and I think you know what I've been spending most of my time on the last bit of time, so I'll not go through the report. But there were a couple things that I wanted to share with Mayor and Council. And I know during the process where we were talking about commercial development or proposed commercial development on the, what's been referred to as the Johnson Farm site, which is the 467 acres. I think the total view of the group that if we had any commercial activity there, it would be small, and it would be located perhaps in the interior maybe of the neighborhoods. There was one small commercial area. And I did hear some discussion that talked about sales tax, and that that perhaps we didn't have a sales tax. And I heard that, you know, by a couple people. And I know that the mayor and the board knows that, but I did want to talk a little bit about that, and I guess as information and an update, is I know that we do have Article 39 that has a point of sales distribution, and we know that any sale that occurs in a given county will result in that coming back to the county, and the county distributes that to cities and towns based on ad valorem, based on the previous year's property tax levied. And Article 39 is $367,489.04 for 2021. Article 40 talks about distributed based on county's population in relation to the state population total, and then the county distributes that to the cities and towns. We used to call this state shared revenue, but it's actually not shared. It comes from here, and then it comes back to us with less than what was taken out, I would observe. But in Article 40, in this year's budget, we have $163,398.17. Article 42 is 50% point of sale distribution and 50% population. And this comes back to the town as well, and that is $178,233.84. And then we have Article 44 was repealed, and there's a very small amount of activity on that still. And most of you, or at least I remember, hold harmless, where they did away with us receiving tax, sales tax, you know, as our town grew and our economy grew, and they capped it. And then those towns that would be negatively impacted, they came up with a hold harmless clause that would allow us to receive that money in a replacement about 0.25% of Article 44 that was repealed, and that's $141,048.04. And I would like you to know, and I know you all have reviewed the budget. You certainly grilled us on it. You have reviewed last year's audit. But overall, that's $850,164.34 that we are depending on, which is a fairly significant part of our general fund budget. And I did get a lot of questions. Now, we don't have a tax that we apply directly and collect it locally in the state of North Carolina. These funds are collected and they go to the state, and in our case come back to the county and are redistributed on these different ways. And so I did want to at least give an update on sales tax and really how important. And I can see a huge difference when the development around Publix came in. I would say that in 1920, fiscal year 1920, we took in $722,310, and it jumped to our estimate of $850,000, and certainly that's $130-something thousand, which is at, you know, if you put an equivalent to cents on that, you know, at $40,000. You know, that's significant dollars that would have to be made up with tax. And so even though we have a small amount of sales tax that would be derived from that, we think it important that we not turn our backs on that. We certainly don't want that to be a commercial area, but as you add all this together, a little bit helps out. And so we try to take advantage of that, and we are a growing community. I know the folks from out of town, Seth, Harry, and Associates, were impressed with our downtown and our restaurants. Matter of fact, several of them ate at the barbecue place across the street a couple times that they were here. One fellow said, could we send him some? And I said, no, probably not. We'd probably eat it before it got to you. So I did want to bring that up to the mayor and the board. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit is, I know we signed an agreement for consulting services with Seth Harry and Associates. And I wanted to give an update on the contract with Seth Harry and Associates. As we know, D.R. Horton purchased the 467 acres in the town's ETJ for their future development. And it would look to me that they might be looking at a 70-year build-out, 7 to 10-year build-out once they got started. You'll also remember that the planning board and the town council, which has already been mentioned tonight, turned down the application previously submitted by Diamondback Investments. And after that, I would say that Diamondback attempted to have a bill passed by the North Carolina General Assembly to have this 467-acre tract removed from the town of Jamestown. And I think Miss Martha, who was there, remembers the agreement with Greensboro, where we set up boundaries for us going into an area that they might have and them going into an area that they might have. And certainly the only way that could have been done was going to the General Assembly and having a bill passed that would just arbitrarily moved it. And Mayor and I think all of y'all, we met with Tom Terrell, and I don't know whether y'all remember, but he actually lobbied the General Assembly, and I was in on that, and all of you, and we literally met with the legislative delegation for Guilford County in a Zoom call, and we talked about this, and certainly our recommendation was, you know, we have an agreement here, and it's not that we are against development. We want quality development, and I remember Mayor Pro Tem, you read a rather lengthy statement of inconsistency, and I think we shared why we didn't think that that met the standards that we wanted here for our community. And at that point, we convinced the legislative delegation that perhaps that wasn't the best idea, and they were very supportive of us, and we're kind of surprised, and some even asked the question, well, why are they coming us to change it? We've already got agreements, but there were some who, you know, maybe thought it was a good idea, but after we talked with them, lobbied and communicated, they did not bring it up, and so the property was in our area. Now, I know that this particular property has been here, as you mentioned, for some time, and I don't think that anyone in this area suspects that it would have remained, if I owned the 467 acres, I don't know that I'd want to keep it as green space for all of our neighbors. And we did have D.R. Horton, who bought the property July 1st. And one of the things that I commend the mayor and the council for is I think you said, you know what, if we're going to do this, we're going to try to do it right. We're going to try to get input from our citizens. And we also need some resources. Now, we can't afford the likes of Tom Terrell, who's probably the leading land use attorney in the state of North Carolina. He would say, oh, he's not, but I would say he wrote a lot of the 160D, and he had input, a good bit of it. And so I would call him, you know, one of the very best, because he's written the legislation that we have. And we actually hired Tom Terrell to work with us to evaluating the other proposal along with benchmark planners and our staff. And this board turned it down. You know, there might have been some discussion from some others, but I can tell you, because I was here, the mayor and the board, when they got it, it didn't last more than a couple weeks, and y'all turned it down in a meeting. I remember that meeting. And so the one thing that we also did is we signed a contract with Seth Harry and Associates. We felt like we wanted someone who was a community planner, someone who was an architect perhaps, and someone who had done urban design work. And I think we've talked in our meetings, our public engagement meetings, that Seth Harry was very well qualified. He has done work, as far away as, the far west. He is from Fredericksburg, Maryland. And somebody said, well, why'd you have to go to Maryland to find somebody? And I said, we interviewed several firms, and we were more interested in getting the best than getting one from a certain area. We wanted the best, and we wanted somebody who would be our advocate. I am not an architect. I'm not a planner. I'm not an urban designer. And we felt like maybe what was missing from the last development proposal is that we maybe didn't have those resources available to the planning board. We didn't have them available, it didn't go that far, but we didn't have them maybe here. And even though we can't afford to hire people like that full-time, we can afford to rent them.
Yeah.
And so we rented Tom Terrell, and we also hired in a contract Seth Harry, and he had 4 associates here with him. That was 5, and then we had 2 others that were remote who were doing work. And so we have hired them, and their purpose was to do the public engagement process. There are 3 phases in this contract, and the first part was the public engagement process, and we had a lot of citizens coming. Certainly we had an open process, but we had a lot of citizens come in, and we ended up coming up with preferences that we wanted to see in our community that were representative of our community. And when those preferences were made, they have been included in the design of these particular neighborhoods. And I love the fact that there's connectivity in this plan, that the roadways were shortened up significantly, that certainly it does provide, in my opinion, long-term sustained property values, walkability, high-quality design and open spaces, streets and landscaping and functional and aesthetic layout of streets and neighborhoods. What we're adding here is about 5 or 6 different neighborhoods to our community. And we want to make sure that they are comparable and that they meet some design standards. And so when Seth work is not done through the public engagement process, that he will be available to developing a conceptual form-based code to document and codify the essential planning and design elements defined in our master plan. And the third and final phase of this is he will be working with Tom Terrell, and we will be coming up with a development agreement, an enforceable development agreement that will guide the development of this particular project. In the other case there, we had folks who were presenting us things, and had we approved them, there was really nothing there to say that they had to do what it is they said they wanted to do, though I don't think there were many people pleased with anything that they wanted to do. And so I applaud our mayor and our council for saying we're going to provide that. We may not be the largest. We may not be as large as High Point. We may not be as large as Greensboro, but we are going to provide quality for our planning board. We're going to provide quality for us, and we're going to act in the best interest of the citizens in hiring an advocate who has done this for 35 years and has had success even in Greensboro and even in Asheville, certainly Beaufort and the dozens and dozens and maybe hundreds of different places that he has worked in. And so those are the 3 phases of what he would be doing. And the contract was a lump sum not to exceed contract for $90,000. And to this point, it would be my estimate that we're about 30%, 35% through that. There's still work to do on the public engagement process as he gathers the information. He's going to work with his engineer, and I would say that one of the engineers we're working with is a fellow out of Durham who was an applicant for the overall job, but we've hired him to help us in terms of taking this design and trying to lay out lots and structures and things like that. So we're in the process of working with him to check that. So I want to say that I've been a town manager and a city manager in this state for many, many, many years. I'm older than Seth Harry. So I am applaud our mayor and council for taking this bold step. And I had one of the citizens ask me, they said, well, gosh, you know, these folks were hired by the developer. I said, oh, no. I said, these folks were hired by our mayor and council. They are our advocate, and they are under no illusion or, you know, to work for the developer. They are working for us to make sure that we get what, you know, we pay for. And so we, they said, well, why would you spend $90,000? I said, you know, in 7 to 10 years, if this thing is built out, there may well be $400 million worth of development. And would we not want to spend $90,000 of due diligence to make sure that we got a quality job, that we got a good design, and that we have something that's enforceable, that we can stand in there for the citizens rather than just take what's presented to us. And I actually think you made a tremendous investment. We certainly don't want things that are going to, 5 to 10 years, you know, be torn up and that type of thing. We're looking for quality. That's what you all have said. And I can't think of any other community who has taken more steps to ensure that we get a quality job on this. And so we're about 30 to 35% that we've completed. In my opinion, the first phase would probably be 50 to 65%. The second phase would be about 20 to 30%, and the work on the development agreement would probably be 5 to 10%. So they will be with us for the duration. They just didn't come in and do something and leave after 4 days. You know, we have been collaborating with them. And I would say the other thing is there was someone here in the audience the other day that thanked D.R. Horton for being here. And certainly they have a vested interest. They probably have a lot of money that they've spent on this property. And they didn't have to be here, but they were here, and they listened firsthand. They said, you know, we don't want to just watch it. We want to be there firsthand to listen and hear, and you know, to participate and to. They certainly are going to be, once they're annexed, they're going to be the largest, one of the largest property owners, you know, in the whole town. And so this is a collaborative process, and we can't do this without collaborating with them. But we have the assistance of and any request that D.R. Horton makes comes to the town, and then we work with Seth Harry to respond. But we have to work with them because they have meaningful information that we need from them on the property to be able to do our job. So it's collaboration, and hopefully we're not working against D.R. Horton or any developer. We're hopefully going to work with them to produce the best results. There's an old proverb that says there's wisdom in a multitude of counsel, and we can't do this without everybody having a voice, even including the developer. And I know developers sometimes get a bad name, and sometimes they deserve the name that they've got. But in this case, we have a new developer. We have the same piece of property, a new owner, and certainly the plan is going to be different from what came up the last time. And so I just wanted to, you asked me to give you an update on where we were, and I feel like the public engagement process went well. I do think we got the the significant online information back from the community, an open process, and Seth will translate that a little bit further, and we will continue the process, and each month I will give you an update on where we are on this particular contract that was approved in a budget amendment about a month or two earlier, and then we have, at this point, have made some expenditures. So I wanted to share that with the board. One other thing that I wanted to share, and I hesitated even bringing this up, but I think that, the board needs to know, what's going on at the staff level. And I know that this board is very interested, and I'm called on from time to time to brief certain board members and, on what's happening from an operational standpoint. And one of the things that has really picked up for us has been the public records requests. And I think since, June of 2020, we have had 35 public record requests. And that's kind of a record amount that we've had. And I was looking at one of them, and one of them might involve as many as 10,000 records. I know we've received several hundred emails, and of these 35 public records requests since June 30th of 2020, we had 6 requests during that time from residents and businesses, and 29 of the requests were just from one person, or say 83% of our 35 requests, were from one person. And I've not seen that many requests in my 40 years of being a town manager. I think that's a lot of requests. Again, that's 83% of the total requests. And when one comes in, a lot of times we have to go, if someone says, I want to look at any and all, well, we have to get our computer company involved, and we have to go ahead and put in keywords. And once we have back the information, the town clerk does the most of this information. And then I'm involving the town attorney. And certainly we have an excellent attorney. But the attorney has a rate of pay, and the clerk has one. I'm on it, and Matthew and Judy or whoever. And so, my estimate is that we've probably spent about $80 an hour from our staff, and my estimate is that we have used over $20,000 of our staff time since June of 2020 answering these requests. And the other thing is we've had 11 requests have been submitted since July. So we've had a lot of them since July. And one thing I wanted to do, and we did do, is I have reviewed our ordinance. And certainly we want any citizen to be able to request anything, even citizens that live in another town, whatever anybody requests, we want to make sure that we try to get it back as quickly as we can. But the amount of requests, if somebody's goal was to kind of bog us down, maybe they've been a little bit successful. But what we have is I've given you a copy of our current, policy on this. And I've also given you a copy, we've done some research, and I've got a copy of one.
I don't think we have that. I don't.
Okay, well, I've got a copy, but I'll share with y'all a copy of the current one, and then I will give you one that I'm recommending. And I'm not asking anybody to approve anything tonight, but I'm giving just a copy, and I want to give one to John. Can you get? No, John can't get that.
You can't get that one. Thank you.
I'm right here, really.
I've got a copy that I want to give you, and we can talk about it at the next meeting. And And one of the things that is, you know, we certainly can have, you know, normally if a request takes 4 hours, we don't really bother with it. We certainly can't charge for my time or the town attorney and some of the other attorneys we have, but, you know, there is some charge that we can make, not that we're trying to recoup the money because we couldn't possibly do that, but when you really look at the cumulative request, you know, for about $20,000 of staff time being utilized on this, I hope you can see that once it accumulates beyond a certain point, I think, you know, we need to charge for thumb drives, you know, whether it's digital or they want paper. And we have a very good policy, but I don't think we ever anticipated having 29 requests from one person. And some of them are pretty voluminous in terms of the time that it takes. And so we certainly haven't been able to get to these as quickly as we like. We normally have a pretty quick turnaround, but some of these have been so large, so we try to get out the ones that we can. But I've only got one town clerk, and since we've used the money up for Judy, I don't have any money to provide assistance for Katie. So, but we all work on those as they come in. But I just wanted to share with you, you know, one of the things that perhaps has made it a little bit more difficult for us. We certainly know what the job contains, and we are trying our best to do it, and I hope the folks that are requesting it will be patient with us as we try to respond as quickly as we can. But I know that there's a couple of them that came in that are just really, really large, that requires independent third parties to come in and examine records and give us reports back. The cost for that right now hasn't been a lot, but if we keep it up, I'm sure they would start charging us. And so I think we have a right, if you will, on such voluminous requests that we get the time to do them, and that we, even though the charges might be modest, but maybe there's some recognition as to, and if you really look at $20-something thousand, that's about a half a cent of taxes from responding to requests, you know, from perhaps residents from other areas. But we have people, businesses and others that make requests, but none seem to be as lengthy as the ones that we have gotten recently. So I just wanted to share that with you and let you know that you know, we didn't ever anticipate this. We have a good policy, but I think we need to take a look at it from this standpoint and maybe react and come up with a better approach in the future than maybe we've had in the past. Had we not gotten all this, I think our policy, Madam Clerk, former Madam Clerk, Mayor Pro Tem, was excellent, but we've had new information based on activity, and I feel like it's in order, and I never want to surprise you all. I just want to let you know what I'm working on, and certainly I'll bring it back, and we can give it proper consideration, and if you think an order changes in order, we can do it, but I think I'd be derelict if I didn't recognize the impact that this is having on our staff. Thank you.
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
Mr. Dream, you mentioned a couple times, you know, we want to be able to respond to requests from people regardless of where they live and if they're in town or out of town. Is it appropriate to ask of the requests that we have been getting, or are those mainly from folks in town or out of town, or?
Well, 83% are from one person who lives in High Point.
Okay,
And,
so this is a person out of
that's
town.
29 out of, I can't remember the figure, but 83% of the total, 35, I think that may be 29, is from one very interested party.
Okay.
Who has, you know, been communicating with us for some time. And I didn't realize the degree and magnitude of that until I asked the clerk. I said, why, you know, I need a little bit of assistance. Why can't I get some? And she said, well, Mr. Treem, let me show you what I'm working on. So it's a matter of trying to make the best use of our time. And we may even have to get some extra help to move this along, but we haven't had that problem in probably since 1752. So
Well, there were times in the past there's been some problems.
but anyway.
But this, so you say this will be on the October agenda?
Yeah, I will.
And I guess you would have reviewed it by that time.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And this is a policy from the University of North Carolina educational system, and as we reviewed them, we thought that this one was the best, and I think our town attorney has reviewed it, and it seems to cover people who've already experienced this, in another governmental process. And we don't want to be punitive, but this has been detrimental and has used our staff time in something that shouldn't take that much time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have suggested also that if people can narrow their scope, when you say any and all, that might involve 10,000 records.
Yeah.
And then you have to go in and see, what is privilege, what is this, what is that. So every record has to be reviewed. And so we have shared with others, if you could narrow your request a little bit, it certainly, would help you get the information that you need if you want something specific. Now, if somebody just wants a copy of this, that, or the other, then that's not a problem. But these have been not of that sort. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say, I'm certainly in favor of the
One thing I
Freedom
wanted
of
to throw out there
Information
today
Act.
is
that,
just that it seems like some of the efforts being made to send in these requests are almost, malicious in nature as opposed to constructive in some capacity. So, I would just applaud the effort and encourage you to continue what you're doing.
Thank you, John. Lawrence?
I was just saying, I'm in favor of the Freedom of Information Act. I just don't think that it should cripple us from moving forward. If it's that amount of work that's being done, do as much as we can when we can, but we can't stop the day-to-day routine and day-to-day activities because everybody else is needing things done as well. Just keeping the government moving, or our town moving as it should be. So I applaud Katie for what you're having to go through. Just keep at it.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments, or do we have any committee reports?
Yeah, you want me to go ahead? Okay. On August the 24th, the TAC meeting, they did approve a resolution of support for the town of Jamestown's application for the North Carolina Department of Transportation Bicycle and Pedestrian Planning Grant Initiative. And a big thank you to Anna, she's not here, but who did all the hard work on that. She did join us via Zoom, but they gave their support on that. A big part of the meeting, I won't be as lengthy as going into my report, but a big part of it was that DOT has realized a lot of the projects that are on the State Transportation Improvement Program, which are projects that identify construction funding and schedules for the next 10 years, although they're updated every 2 years. But you've heard about the TIP, that's the Transportation Improvement Projects. Well, many of those projects were coming in way over budget. I think Paul could probably attest to this. So DOT was trying to look out why, and they determined that there was low initial cost development due to several factors, and that they needed to improve the accuracy of DOT's cost estimation practices. So major findings was the GIS-based cost estimation tools results were low, and the right-of-way, utility, and construction estimates were not always updated or regularly distributed. Plus, they had a lack of a central data repository for estimates, which led to multiple estimates for projects. So their goal is to create a consistent and ingrained process for updating estimates throughout DOT. And this will ensure estimates are updated on a regular basis and distributed to all parties and create a single data repository for all estimates. So they went into a lot more, but they're working on this, and I think they've got a real good handle on it. They've done a lot of work, and I think it will help in all the projects that we as a municipality have to estimate. Also, after the meeting, Paul came to the meeting, and we cornered Wright Archer, who is our District 7 engineer, again, and went over the projects, which I handed out to y'all last time, because there hadn't been much headway since we had given those to you. And he was supposed to have a Teams meeting that afternoon with his staff. And so we were real excited about that, but we haven't had much received information since then. I do know the storm drain there in front of the library, we were so excited, we got it fixed, and then within a couple of weeks, a truck had run over it again. And they have looked at that, and they have decided there is enough drainage easement or outlets at the other places, so they're going to do away with that one. But I mean, it's still there looking bad, but they are going to remove that one. And I hate to put Paul on the hook here, but I believe East Main Street sidewalk is back on track. Do you want to speak to that as far as beginning work again?
From talking with the contractor and our summit, they're supposed to start on Monday, the 27th, to finish the job.
Okay, so that was good news, I think. And so I have sent another email today to Archer to see if we can get some help on finishing these projects.
Thank you, Martha. John, do you have any committee reports?
No, ma'am, nothing from the Parks and Rec group or anything else from my end. Thanks.
Thank you. None, Martha. Rebecca?
The AARP Livable Communities Committee met this month, mainly to just discuss finalization of the application to the National AARP to be considered as an age-friendly community. So we went over that, and the application was submitted last week, and so we feel really good about that. We had invaluable feedback from local AARP representatives who think we are very strong and are confident that we'll receive that. And so I was just really proud of the whole group. They've done great work over the past several months, getting everything like that together. And also, a number of the members participated in the visioning process here last week with Seth Harry. So that was great to, be going through the application and doing that process, but then also immediately being able to put it to use, being able to talk about the importance of walkable communities and accessible areas and things like that. Our next meeting for that will be November 4th at 4 p.m. And then also, as mentioned before, the planning board met last night. The majority of the discussion there was about the comp plan, which was another great group. The steering committee did a fantastic job on that. The end product is really beautiful. Everybody had great things to say about the proposed comp plan. So great job to them. And as you heard, they supported that, and so we'll be seeing that soon.
Yeah, excuse me, but I'm interrupting here, but I was going to say, I didn't mention, because it was sort of anticlimactic since it's been
I know.
But the land comp plan, we did meet on August the 26th, August the 30th, and September the 7th, and went through that process of finalizing. And on the 7th, that's when we did finish, and then, of course, like you said, it went to the planning board.
Katie, did we have anyone signed up for public comment?
Nobody signed up.
Thank you. Any other business, council?
Well, I would like to thank the staff for the last music event in September. It was a lovely night, and I've gotten a lot of great comments from it. And I guess we should remind everyone the next and the last event, I think, is October the 1st at Ren Miller. And Elizabeth is still here. I want to thank you again for Litter Suite and how well that went and organized very well. I appreciate you doing that. And I'm still, one more plug for the Jamestown Pig Picking, which is October the 9th, and that's a fundraiser for family services, and you can go on their website still and get tickets. And then we had some discussion, the Mayoral Primary is October the 5th. Now, I believe there's early voting, as you and Lawrence.
Early voting's already happened.
Courthouse, but October the 5th, you can vote here for that. Which also, we have November 2nd being the municipal election. And I think early voting starts at the courthouse on October 14th, but starts here at Town Hall October 24th, or you vote on November the 2nd. I've had some people ask me about that, so, of course, I always direct them to Guilford County Board of Elections. That would give them the best information. And then we got the great notice that loose leaf pickup starts on October 25th. And the leaves are falling in my yard.
Varies. I have had interest in a student from Ragsdale to be our council representative,
Right.
and she is getting the application and the recommendation, and hopefully we will see that in front of us next month.
Wonderful.
Just one question I meant to ask Rebecca. Do you know how long it takes for that application process with ARP? Or
We asked, and I mean, you know, what we heard was sometimes even just several weeks or a month or two, so,
Okay,
you know, hopefully we'll hear back soon.
yeah.
With no other business, do I have a motion to adjourn?
You have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.